Here are some terms that I think people should know, right? These are some things that I think it's useful to go over because I would guess that maybe some of these people listening don't even know what these mean. So we're going to understand some operational expenses. We're going to talk about fixed, variable, pass through. Let's go with those three.
Okay.
Can you talk to me about fixed operating cost?
Yeah. So when most people are thinking about how much they're going to make, honestly, they think, okay, if I'm making $10,000 a month in income on a property and my mortgage payment's $5,000 a month, they think they're making $5,000. They're not, right? And so because of all these other expenses, right? Like most people are like, what am I paying for the property? How much am I making? The issue is paying for that property. You have in our game, like most people will think about their fixed expenses when they say, oh, you're right. I got my insurance. I got my HOA fees. I got my taxes. I've got my utilities. I've got maintenance, lawn care, pool care, whatever that all is. Those are all things that you're paying for on an annual or monthly basis on that property, right? What does it take to hold and operate this property? Those are all your fixed expenses. Fixed means they don't change, right? They're these fixed expenses. Variable expenses also can add up very, very fast on short-term rentals, specifically when you start to talk about OTA fees, you start talking about your management fees. Your management fees, if you're like me, when you hire a full service property manager, right off the top, they're taking 20 to 30% of my gross revenue, depending on my market, right? And who I hire. And so that's a fixed expense or a variable expense that is based on the revenue that I'm making, right? So I'm not paying a management fee unless I'm making money. But as soon as I make $1, they're taking 30 cents of that dollar, right? So for every dollar I make, 20 or 30 cents is going right off the top, usually for full service management.
Wow.
So the other thing that is going to be variable if you're covering any of those OTA fees. If Airbnb is charging you 15% and you're getting charged 15% on every single booking that you get on Airbnb, that's a variable expense that has to go out. Now, are you going to raise your rates to cover that? Possibly. We're talking about pass-through expenses now, right? So a pass-through expense is something that you just pass on to the guest. It could be damage waiver like insurance. It's a $59 per booking damage waiver, and we're going to add that to the booking. And it's going to be an expense, but I'm also capturing it on the back end when I charge my guest, right? I'm going to see it on when I'm running my numbers at the end of every month on my property. It's going to show me, okay, you got damage waiver insurance. You had 10 bookings at $59 each. It's $590 of an expense, but I pass that through to the guest. And so I charge them the nightly rate, and I also charge them that extra $59. So it's basically a wash for me, right?
I got it. Okay.
Same with cleaning. It's usually just going to be a wash. Okay. For every time that somebody comes in, I got $200 on a cleaning. I had 10 bookings. I have $2,000 expense, but it's going to pass through. And I'm also capturing that as extra revenue, right?
Okay.
So those are kind of pass-through expenses. Variable expenses are going to be calculated based on, in our world, based on the number of bookings and or the revenue per booking that you're making, and they're going to take a fee from that, or you're going to get charged per booking for something, right? And so that's going to be variable. It's going to change based on how much money you're making, how active that property is. Fixed expenses, doesn't matter whether I rent the property 100 times a year or rent it 0 times a year. I still have insurance to pay. I still have HOA fees to pay. I still have utilities to pay. Right. All of those different fixed expenses. And so you see all these, these fancy investment calculators. And everybody, our version of our SDR investment analyzer has been, taken in. How many websites do we find it on?
Many.
Over the years, but all that is a sheet, a fancy, Google Sheets that shows you, here's your variable expenses. It reminds you of things you should be thinking about and putting in there, fixed expenses, debt service, cost of rehabs, all that stuff, so that you can look at it and say, does this make sense? But if you don't even understand what those numbers are to put in, it's like garbage in, garbage out. It doesn't matter whether you have the fanciest calculator in the world, the fanciest spreadsheet in the world. It's, hey, listen, here's the things that are on there. But underwriting is pretty dang simple. It's saying, hey, how much do I have in? What is my capital in? What is my debt service on that property? Which is going to be a factor of your, we usually calculate debt service separately, but that's going to be debt service. And then you have all your fixed expenses. taxes, insurance, HOA fees, utilities, all that stuff, variable expenses based on that property. Am I paying a management company off of my revenue? What does my cleaning look like? And then we're going to have in there on our variable expenses, we're going to have all of those pass-through expenses still listed on there, but then we're going to calculate it as extra revenue when we're calculating income projections as well, right?
Interesting. Okay, I'll put a link to the our STR data sense.
Yep.
I'll put it in the link below if you want to use that. Now, man, that's really interesting. Have you found over the years that maybe some people, or maybe not some people, but it's a universal thing that a lot of people forget to put on? I'm thinking Wi-Fi. I'm thinking air duct cleaning. I'm thinking maybe that happens maybe once a year, carpet cleaning, and they forget to add it. Have you noticed that some people, they always seem to miss this one thing?
No,
really?
The biggest thing that I think people underestimate now, especially, is insurance cost. And so insurance cost right now is in a lot of our, for short-term rentals, one, it's more expensive. Many of these areas that we invest in are more expensive. And so I find when we look at somebody's underwriting, we find, overwhelmingly, that's one of the first places we go look is say, what are they budgeting for insurance? Because it seems to be the biggest line item that people underestimate what they're going to be paying.
Wow.
And sometimes significantly, and it can really affect your underwriting. So, so if I had to tell somebody, hey, listen, while you're running your underwriting and analysis and income and expenses, make sure you're really getting good insurance quotes that are going to cover you for what you're looking to do in the area you're looking to do it at.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.